The good news and the bad news about trade publications is, it used to be that they were the stable ones. The journalists that worked at those trades stayed at those trades forever because they were so specialized that it was the one thing they knew and they did it well. And you could always fall back on the same trade, depending on what industry you're in, time and time again. That dynamic has changed quite a bit. The trade publications got disrupted, just like the rest of the news industry did. Just took a little while longer for that to happen. So it's definitely more changing, but again, it still comes back to it comes back to a few things. One is the relationship. This is true for trades as well as general media outlets. I used to run the social media club. We did events like this all the time. It included a social aspect to it. And there was always that one guy who the only time you ever saw him at any event was when he was looking for a job. And he was asking around, saying, hey, I'm looking for a job. And as soon as he got the job, you never saw the guy again, right? He was needy. He was only there when he needed you and not when you needed him, or he could be of assistance. And he never came back and said, how can I help? Don't be that person when it comes to the media, where every time you call, you're just like, hey, I need, I've got the perfect story for you, blah, blah, blah. I need you to write about it right now, right? Don't be needy, give. Like Edna said, call a reporter up and say, hey, I read your stuff. That's another thing. Read what they write. I got into this is not a trade thing, but I got into the Miami Herald, a beautiful story in the Miami Herald, that only because I read the woman's stuff, and I said, hey, you covered this 10 years ago. How about a follow-up story? Thank goodness she was still here 10 years later. But that's what you have to do. Show that, go with them, and it doesn't have to be a story about your company, right? It could be a story about a competitor, maybe some gossip on a competitor, maybe a good thing about another company that's not related to yours at all, but that's of interest to the reporter, right? You become a resource for that reporter. And it's not always a quid pro quo. It is, but at least it doesn't feel that way.